Welcome to this session, The Decade Ahead, Ideas for BRICS Presidencies. The room is so overcrowded, and that does tell us that the topic is very timely and relevant. We are going to have about an hour for this session. I'm going to introduce the speaker, set the context, and then, of course, hand over. So, Abhishek Singh, Joint Secretary, Multilateral Economic Relations, Sous-Sherpa for G20 for BRICS, IBSA, from the Ministry of External Affairs, India. Sarah Musetsa is CEO of Human Sciences Research Council in South Africa. Victoria Panova, Scientific Supervisor of the BRICS Expert Council and Managing Director of the National Committee of BRICS Research, Russia. Shi Chao is Associate Professor, Institute of International Studies, Fudan University, China. Aliriza Kolipur is Director, Group for Asian Studies, Institute for Political and International Studies in Iran. And Walter Desidera is Researcher and Coordinator of Studies and Economic Relations, Institute for Applied Economic Research in Brazil. Welcome to all the speakers. The expansion of BRICS with new members has significantly increased the group's economic and political heft, posing a challenge to the Western-led global order. The expanded BRICS accounts for nearly half of the world's population and more than a third of the global GDP, which is more than the G7 and the EU. BRICS Plus controls a substantial share of global trade, energy, and critical minerals, and is a major source of global economic growth. For countries of the global south, BRICS is not just a group that is there to challenge the status quo, it also has huge potential to drive human-centric growth, and for countries to work together on issues of common concern like climate change, technology, supply chains, connectivity, and financial stability. Since its inception, BRICS has functioned as a loose block of non-Western economies, often bogged down by a slow pace of decision-making. And the group's increasing diversity might make it harder to adopt reforms. And these are the potential pitfalls. And yet, with the latest round of expansions, BRICS has become a relevant platform to discuss and work out an alternative model to the current international order, one that puts the global south at the center, along with human-centered growth. I'm now going to hand over to Abhishek Singh for the scene setter.
Good morning, Namaskar, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of the panel discussion on the Decade Ahead Ideas for BRICS Presidencies. Raisina dialogue has emerged as a vital platform for deliberations on geoeconomics and geopolitics. The credit for this goes to the Observer Research Foundation, Ministry of External Affairs, India, think tanks from across the globe, and leaders who have come to share their ideas, and of course, many more who have contributed. Since I have been asked to set the scene for today's panel, I promise to keep it brief. BRICS is poised to shape the global order and has become a significant force in the geopolitical landscape. BRICS has now expanded to include more countries from the global south. It now represents 46% of the world population, 35% of the global GDP on PPP basis, and accounts for 41% of the global oil production. Friends, the BRICS expansion is an expression of strengthening trends towards multipolarity. It is an indication of its growing relevance in the global affairs. At present, the BRICS has 11 member countries and 9 partner countries from across multiple continents, including Asia, Africa, South America, and Eurasia. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE officially joined BRICS in 2024. The most recent addition is Indonesia, which became a member in January 2025. With over 30 countries wanting to join, the interest in BRICS continues to grow. At this rate, Madam Chair, we perhaps need a bigger venue or a wider camera lens. BRICS has broadened its scope to discuss issues on climate change, sustainable development, health, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. These issues will remain central to the BRICS agenda in the coming decade. Friends, on climate change, BRICS is aligning its stance on climate financing and carbon market. BRICS has recognized the importance of blended finance in achieving sustainable development goals. In artificial intelligence, BRICS has emphasized the development of ethical and human-centric AI within the United Nations frameworks. On trade, it has called for an open, rule-based, transparent, equitable, and non-discriminatory trading system with WTO at its core. BRICS has underscored the need to reform the current financial architecture to make it more inclusive and just. It has recognized the central coordinating role of the World Health Organization on countering health emergencies. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, Brazil assumed the chairship of BRICS with its theme as strengthening Global South cooperation for more inclusive and sustainable governance. Brazil will host about 120 meetings and activities with the summit planned in July 2025 in Rio de Janeiro. From India's perspective, we are a founding member of BRICS. India's engagement in BRICS is, however, not exclusive of other international alliances like Quad, I2U2, and G20. It complements our growing international role and would help in achieving our objective of a Viksit Bharat in 2047. It is an articulation of our quest for Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India. Friends, the BRICS chairship rotates in the order of its acronym, which means India is set to take the helm in 2026. India has already hosted the BRICS summit thrice in 2012, in 2016, and 2021. And before you ask me more details, let's say for the moment, classified information stays classified. India continues to play an active role in shaping the agenda of the BRICS. We contributed in the establishment of the new development bank, BRICS R&D Center, Vaccine Center, and digital public infrastructure. We are promoting holistic healthcare approaches, including Ayurveda and traditional medicines. In fulfillment of the mandate given by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, we recently launched the BRICS Startup Forum in 2025. Efforts are underway to put in place a BRICS online archival database. Let's be honest, even the strongest BRICS wall has a few cracks. The first challenge to BRICS emanates from its rapid expansion. The task for integrating new members is beset with difficulties. Imagine adding new players to a well-rehearsed orchestra and hoping that they don't play off key. That's the nature of the terrain. BRICS unity and solidarity has come under some pressure due to the ongoing geopolitical crisis and the global supply chain disruptions. The consensus-based principle on which BRICS operates is required to accommodate diverging national positions. The economic integration among BRICS countries continues to be uneven. Significant trade barriers exist amongst its members. The discussion on AI governance has reinforced the need to harmonize varying levels of technological advancement. The main challenge is strengthening BRICS and its institutions. Without a permanent secretariat, BRICS must streamline its activities. In conclusion, Madam Chair, the fact that BRICS has emerged and is being taken seriously proves that there is a real need and a loud demand for change. And right now, if there is a ticket to that change, BRICS is perhaps one of the best rides in the town. I thank you all.
Thank you very much for those scene-setting remarks, Joint Secretary. I'm now going to move to our first speaker, Victoria Panova, who's Vice Rector at HEC University, Head and BRICS Expert Council for Russia, also W20 Sherpa for Russia. Victoria, as a long-term BRICS watcher, of course, Mr. Singh also referred to the challenges of integration that lie ahead. How can BRICS ensure that the diversities of all its members become its strength rather than its weakness? And also, how can BRICS ensure that it is not just a competing minilateral grouping like the G7 and the G20, but also something that works towards cooperation in the Global South?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dear Dear participants, first of all, allow me to tell that it's a great pleasure for me to be here at the invitation of OIRF and the Minister of External Affairs, and deep appreciation to their scene setting from Mr. Singh. I think was very comprehensive and, in fact, outlined all main points that are relevant for the BRICS. What I would like to say is that, let's say, chair from previous year and responsible for the track 2 and for expert discussion deliberations in the BRICS and part of BTTC. How we all see BRICS, it's not something that wants to challenge the system. Often it is presented from outside that BRICS is a challenger. And we heard Mr. Trump's suggestions that, for example, BRICS is trying to challenge the dollar and there has to be 150% tariffs introduced. But the point is that BRICS is about, first of all, it is fit and it is part of the system. And it is not intended to challenge or to break it. The main idea behind BRICS is to ensure that the system evolves to a more fair model that includes interests, not just of BRICS countries, but of all countries. So this is not an intention to have another minilateral format that is trying to take over. Yes, we've heard their figures. We're now taking a significant part of GDP. And in fact, we've reached, even with the original 5, we've overcome the previous analysis that was given by Goldman Sachs. I think they suggested it's in 2032, right? We're supposed to go over the initial, the G7, but we managed to go over already a few years ago. And with a collective strength of 11 members, it is indeed soon to come close to 40% of collective GDP. So it is a strength, but a strength not challenging anybody around the world. And yes, indeed, as Dr. Singh have underlined, we're all diverse. And that is why there are a number of differences and divergences inside. But for us, I see it's rather an opportunity. Why so? First of all, even with the original 4 and 5 countries, it was well orchestrated, but we always had our own national interests, our own paths of developments, and we always we're managing, since the idea is the consensus-based decisions, consensus-based commitments, it has to be a common denominator that satisfies all. So there's no possibility of taking decision that would be overrunning another country. This is key. And why it continues to be an opportunity, even with a much bigger bulk of countries, we didn't change much. We're still as diverse as we were in a group of 5. But I don't like those comparisons, but I will put it here. Unlike the G7, where they at least used to be all the like-minded countries, in the situation where we all are diverse, we don't lose the culture of negotiation. When you talk to people who think the same way you do, you think this is how the world should be running. You don't feel and you don't hear that there are people, there are countries that think differently. And that's why you lose the ability to think critically and to look critically at the world around. In BRICS, we never go into such a manner because we constantly have to go over difficult issues, different approaches, and this keeps us alert and keeps us always ready for new, bolder decisions. And the idea is that not to overrun the rules. So Dr. Singh talked about, for example, WTO rules. We have to sustain them. We could be adapting things in accordance with the interests of the countries, and then we need a long process of negotiation. But BRICS doesn't support or accept the model when one or few countries can just overrun those rules and say that they're stronger, and that's why they have to be abolished. So the process of negotiation is very important. But since you talked about expansion, this is my personal view. I think we already did a lot, and it's a huge leap. Growing twice as much, 11 members, 9 partner countries. I think it's time to pause in terms of we remain inclusive, but it is very much time to take some time to, in fact, ensure that orchestra plays well again, and that we could be coming to concrete solutions with the new composition of the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. From what I hear, this does make the grouping more adaptable, open to negotiation. But the big question that I would like to take to all the other speakers and the room would also be, is it time to pause or is it time to expand further? So our next speaker is Sarah. And Sarah, Africa's engagement with BRICS has been growing too. More African countries have been included. What should be Africa's strategies for engaging with a rapidly evolving multilateral, multipolar world? And also, how can it do so while ensuring that its own sustainable growth and development is prioritized, as well as Africa's voice in global governance is heard?
Madam Chair, thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me also thank ORF and particularly Dr. Saran for years of friendship in the BRICS family. But this Raisina, I think, is very important. And what I've gathered thus far is that this Raisina, Mr. Singh, I think the key word is peace. And I'll come back to that. The expansion of BRICS for some of us who come from extended family or big families does not scare us at all. In actual fact, for those of you who come from big families and extended families, you know that it can be very an entertaining space, but also a space that is based on solidarity and reciprocity. That said, for us as Africa, I think we have been sitting as South Africa as part of BRICS, and we welcome the new members. I think it is also premised on how we have been doing business in any way inside the continent. And therefore, we're not starting from scratch in collaborating with each other in the continent, but also engaging ourselves in the BRICS family. I think the AU, particularly the Africa 2063 agenda, sets the scene for us in how we want to engage further in the BRICS family. The Africa Free Trade Agreement as well, yes, it needs to be strengthened, but it also needs to be strengthened with strategic partnership within BRICS. So it's not an either or. For us, it's all to strengthen who we are as a BRICS. And I know that in many parts, and Victoria, my colleague Victoria, has always said from Russia, and I think Walter and I and others have always challenged this notion. And sitting here in Raisina, I want to embrace that notion of the global majority. That indeed, as South Africa, we've said we will not be bullied by the minority. South Africa's G20 presidency has 3 pillars: solidarity, sustainability, and equality. For the purposes of Raisina, I want to focus on solidarity, because that also anchors us as a country, as South Africa, within BRICS. Indeed, there might be discord at some points because of approach, because indeed we are sovereign countries within BRICS. We have divergent interests, But we've always agreed that we are going to be held together by consensus on matters that build us, not destroy us as BRICS. While the majority, or some, while we're in the majority, the minority have always wished us that we will indeed disappear. We have not disappeared. We are in India as a collective BRICS. And thanks again to Raisina for coordinating this. On the issue around solidarity, we are going to use and we need to be using our collective muscle of solidarity to champion peace, but not peace at all costs that undermines our sovereignty as countries. Indeed, someone has already mentioned the very famous country. For South Africa, it has been indeed a hiccup, and we are hoping that the hiccup with the United States will be resolved for the good of all, for sustainability, for the African continent. I want to support what has just been said by Mr. Singh around the India presidency for 2026 BRICS. At the moment, we are in the middle of presidency by Brazil. And again, for Brazil, for us, it is about sustainability. It is about tackling the current challenges of inequality the world over. And that inequality is shaped by both gender. It is very gendered. It also has an age face. Majority of our people that are poor, that don't have not in employment, especially decent work, are women and are youth. And therefore, our approach as we think about matters of the world majority and the global south, we need to be prioritizing women and youth in our respective countries. I think as BRICS, we welcome new members. We want new members, especially if those members are about pursuing our agenda of solidarity, of peace, of sustainability, of equality, and equality for all. I think that's important for us as BRICS, and particularly South Africa. And these are some of the matters that we will take up as we engage in Brazil in June. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. And thanks also for pointing out how BRICS can engage with human-centered growth. I'm now going to turn to Shi Chao. Sarah just mentioned about building consensus. Both India and China have been jockeying for leadership of the global south, and the relationship between the two countries is complex. Despite all of that, how do you think they could work together through BRICS on critical issues like technology, on supply chains and climate?
Thank you, Chair. I think this is the right time to discuss China and India's cooperation in the framework of the Global South, and of course BRICS, because we all know that for the past few years there have been a very difficult area for the bilateral ties. But since earlier this year, your foreign secretaries visited to China, and the interactions between both foreign ministers, as well as the most recent remarks of your Prime Minister on China-India relations, which had achieved normalcy, and also the Chinese Foreign Ministry responded in a very positive way by saying that it is high time for the bilateral dance between the two countries. So I think it is high time to discuss the topic. And then we need to answer why yes, why no. For example, first of all, I have several points to make. First of all is that despite our difficult times for the past 2 years, I think we have achieved, not in a coordinated way, which I coined the term that uncoordinated coordination between the two countries in the framework of the Global South. Because we have many cases we can mention. For example, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Palestinian-Israel conflict. I think there's no coordination, no diplomatic channels, no negotiation between the two countries. But eventually, both countries independently choose a path that eventually lead to the background, to the grounds of those shared by the Global South. So this is, I will say, we start from the different paths, but toward the same direction. And the second point is that For example, we all know that the United States, the India ties is also increasing, and there is a kind of speculative ideas that the United States and the India are allied to contain China. But despite this, in the framework of the global South, we can see very obvious moves between the two countries. For example, the identity debate I would highlight. That is because since 2019, President Trump bring up this topic about China should be deprived of the developing country status. And of course, 2023, the U.S. House of Commission also passed a resolution on the same topic. But despite all the U.S. efforts, we see there's no official involvement of Indian government. So this is, I say, so how to say that? Despite somebody might say, hey, India has convened 3 rounds of the Voices of the Global South Summit, and it didn't invite China. It might say something because it might be echo the identity debate. But I think your Prime Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, made it very clear. We didn't invite, not because of anything else, but because we had difficult relations. So under the circumstances, we don't want to invite China, which is understandable considering the intensity of our bilateral relations. And then we have to say that I think Abhishek mentioned it very well, that all the ideas you have mentioned is not about the revisionist ideas. It's about the existing cornerstones of the global South, of the current existing international order. So I think Victoria is right. We are not challengers. We are exactly the status quo holders. We're trying to keep the status quo. So that is the essence of the global South and the BRICS, what we are doing. So, and of course, when we talk about China and India's relations, so why India is not echoing the identity debate? Because both countries understand the essence of our bilateral ties. Because developing countries, global South is not just an economic term. It has historical implications. It has cultural and also political meanings. Because since the non-aligned movement, China and India has been working shoulder and shoulder and bring up this momentum of third worldies, and not to mention our cooperation in the framework of climate change and many other things. So that being said, even with our difficult relations, we can coordinate in a coordinated way. So we can imagine there's a large room for us to imagine what we can together accomplish with our warmed up ties since this year. And then a few quick points about how to cooperate. First of all, I think Victoria is right, and also the chair also mentioned that BRICS, the global South, even the BRICS, is just a loose association of nations. We come together not for political games, but because we have shared goals on development and peace. What we're trying to do is just to maintain the peace and put the priorities of all nations on the development agenda. So this means BRICS is one of the perfect platform, but together, besides this, we have many other platforms. ASEAN Plus One, African Union, all the regional platforms. So together, all these platforms made up global South countries should be, we can work together, not just BRICS. So we are not alone on the path to maintain this peace. And of course, second, regarding the BRICS expansion, I think Victoria also said that G7 used to be a group of like-minded nations. So today, I think the BRICS is also a group of like-minded nations. So, for example, we have now 3 rounds, or 2.5 rounds. It depends on you how to define it. But we have basically literally 3 rounds of expansion. But all these added members of the global South, we say we do have shared interest on many issues. I have mentioned the geopolitical conflicts, and we see that since 2022, there's a political weakening of the global South. So we do have many leading countries. So I prefer to use approval from leaders of the global South, not just we are competing for the leadership. No, there's nothing about this, because global South itself is a loose association of nations. So there's no mention of leader, because we are not led by someone, but because we are voluntarily participate to voice our concerns. And then the third point I want to make is that we can start with the issue-specific cooperation. Just like Abhishek Singh have said, we have accomplished a lot in many specific issues because on these issues we have shared interest. So I think I will stop here and leave maybe to address some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chao. Your point about uncoordinated coordination is something that I would like to return to. Walter, I turn to you now. And of course, Brazil has assumed the BRICS presidency at a very pivotal time, just right after the expansion. So, could you summarize for us what is Brazil's approach to the presidency, given the fact that it also has been a sort of balancing act between the West and the non-West? And also, how do you see prospects for BRICS in the near future?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, well, it's a privilege to address this esteemed gathering. I would like to thank ORF, our colleagues, Janvis, Samir, for inviting us. It is a privilege to be representing Brazil during our presidency in BRICS in 2025, under the guiding theme, as Singh has put out, strengthening Global South cooperation for more inclusive and sustainable governance. Brazil is committed to advancing collaborative efforts that foster equitable development and robust partnerships among our nations. Our presidency focuses then on two principal priorities, Global South cooperation, which has been a trademark of BRICS, enhancing solidarity and shared initiatives among developing countries to address common challenges and harness collective opportunities. And BRICS partnerships for social, economic, and environmental development, promote integrated strategies that balance economic growth with social inclusion, environmental sustainability. I would add what you said, Sarah. In Brazil, this excluded woman, young in Brazil, she is black. That's what I would say. I was needed to say that. Well, within this, and we don't want it anymore to be in a world like this, and so unequal, so unfair, and so racial in Brazil as well. And within these priorities, we have identified 6 central areas of focus. And the first one is cooperation in global health. And we want to We'll be establishing an international alliance for the elimination of socially determined and neglected tropical diseases. And we must remember in pandemics, how our cooperation in vaccines has been. I would add, it was a little bit of a privilege we had ourselves to cooperate with, because with the technology of Russian vaccines and the Chinese vaccines and the Indian production and our capabilities of production and the South Africa. So we were able to vaccine our population, and we went out of that. Not so well, but we got out of this. And when you may remember how, well, in Brazil, the Pfizer would charge $20 a dose. And we could pay for 2 and almost $5 a dose then. So we cannot be dependent on this great corporations in subjects like that. So that is why we have this priority, the global health, cooperation in global health and in public health. The second priority is trade, investment, and finance. And well, we want to strengthen the new development bank, but I will have to talk a little bit of. I have a little optimistic view on the dollarization. I'll have to talk a little bit about this. I think maybe Mr. Trump is doing this to us. I think it is an unfair world where only one country can print money, but when this country puts tariffs and doesn't import from other ones, the currency doesn't flow out. So if the currency doesn't flow out and he's putting Europe to spend $1 trillion in defense, the last time the European Union did that, they had a euro crisis, so we're gonna have another fellow striving for the unfairness of the international monetary system. So, well, I think de-dollarization is not it's not on BRICS. It's on the US to not do it, and not us. Well, the next priority is climate change. Of course, Brazil is the president of COP30 next year, this year, and we're trying to launch a BRICS leadership agenda on climate change this year, and we're proposing a framework declaration on climate finance. Yes, and just coming back with the last subject, I think if the dollar needs to flow out from the US, and it's not going to be by imports, maybe financing the SDGs and climate change and the maybe a hope for them and for us, for everyone to have this financing for the transition and equitable and just transition and fair transition. The fourth is the governance of artificial intelligence. Well, we want to promote ethical and responsible governance, AI governance, and global governance. And we want to ensure non-discriminatory access to technology. We are proposing some recommendations. I think you don't know, but we're heads of some institutions that compose the BRICS Think Tanks Council, some of us. And we have been discussing some recommendations on the sharing hardware, technology, cloud, data centers, and supercomputers for us to develop technologies among ourselves and together. The fifth, I'm getting there. The fifth priority is the reform of the multilateral peace and security architecture. BRICS has born with this goal, and we want to recover it again, and especially the goals of India, South Africa, and Brazil, as we're candidates of a more important role in the security multilateral architecture. And last but not least, we have the priority of the institutional development of BRICS. This year, we're developing a research on the portfolio of cooperative mechanisms BRICS has created along our 27 years since its inception. And we have found we have 182 cooperative mechanisms today, but we need to organize this, and it has been as for the expansion of members, we're still incorporating the new members, the 5 new, but Indonesia as well, to these cooperative mechanisms. And in so many areas we have these mechanisms. That when I say cooperative mechanisms, there are meetings and other kinds of like dialogues and roundtables. Yes.
Thank you, Walter. And perhaps as we speak about BRICS expansion, the strengthening of institutions is going to be a very important priority, even for India. Our last discussant is Alireza Golipur. And Iran, of course, is the newbie to BRICS as such. And it also has happened at a very interesting time. A lot of political upheaval in the region, turmoil in the West, and also Iran's own economic slowdown. So how can BRICS be an opportunity for Iran for its own economic growth, and also for Iran to participate in shaping the emerging global order?
Thank you. Very good morning to all. Pleasure being here. And let's, in the beginning, recall our fellow colleague Nandan Krishnan, who always is sitting around these kind of tables discussing BRICS. And thank ORF for arranging this very important meeting regarding BRICS. If we have a look in a deeper manner, we see that the need for such mechanisms like BRICS emanates from the fact that the old order has put most of us in a disadvantageous position in a world that is not that pluralistic, is not that equitable, is not inclusive, and maybe the destiny of the world is defined by some few members of this existing global order. So for me, BRICS is considered a group of rising powers with so many common challenges, so many common opportunities, common interests, and common concerns, who complement each other's capabilities in different fields, and who can diversify their power resources, and through they diversify their capabilities through sharing capacities, de-risking, and risk sharing. So they are trying to support each other to collectively overcome their challenges, their common challenges. For example, when it comes to countries like Iran, Russia, China, we see that some coercive unilateral actions against these independent countries have been rising, at least in last few years. So I believe BRICS can provide a state-based, collective socio-economic development model for its members. As Iran, we seek to bolster our cooperation with all members of BRICS in different fields, including in the fields of, for example, transit, energy, trade, economic cooperation, innovation, and technology, and do our geostrategic location, which provides us a special position in so many fields. For example, in transit, as I said, extensive energy resources, as well as high capacities in scientific and engineering fields, industrial production, technology, nanomedicine. We believe that we can be an added value for BRICS. So as we try to put our all capacities together as members of BRICS to help each other collectively to overcome our challenges, our common challenges, I think it is very important to understand that BRICS is trying to play a more decisive and more important role in different fields as we are facing, as you mentioned, so many traditional and non-traditional security challenges. Traditional security challenges like the wars in different parts of the world, and non-traditional ones like global governance, like climate, like economic and trade disruptions, global value chains. So we believe that BRICS can play a very important role, and a part of this objectives can be provided by filling the institutional and intellectual vacuum. inside the existing global order. There are so many different institutions inside BRICS which are very influential, like New Development Bank, Contingent Reserve Agreement, BRICS Business Forum, and BRICS Think Tank Concept, in which we normally try to work collectively to find new ideas, to raise new ideas, to overcome these common challenges. I stop here.
Thank you very much for that. We will now be opening up this discussion. I will invite whoever puts up their hands, and I'm going to request you to keep your interventions very brief. You can have questions for our discussants, also share your thoughts, but keep it under 2 minutes. There is, okay, let's go with you first. Can you briefly introduce yourself and your organization?
Myself, Khushi Sharma. I am currently pursuing my master's from Gujarat. So my question is for Sarah. Hello. South Africa has often emphasized solidarity and strategic expansion for BRICS, as you mentioned about the 2063 agenda. So should BRICS focus on expanding further into Africa to strengthen the global South's influence, or should it consolidate its existing members before bringing in more countries?
Do you want to take that on, Sarah?
Can we just take a round of questions, and maybe that will also allow me
Sure,
to...
and those can also just be interventions, if not questions. Right, do you want to go?
Thank you so much. I'm Igor Makarov from the High School of Economics in Moscow. For the last years, we have two developments. First, the expansion of BRICS makes it the real voice of Global South, as was said during the panel. Secondly, we see the exit of the United States from some multilateral institutions, and probably Europe would also focus more on their domestic problems. Given all this, is not it a time for BRICS to play a more important role in addressing some global challenges? Not just to develop cooperation between BRICS countries on different issues, not just to enhance our own capacities, but also to provide some new ideas and some new focused solutions to global problems to the whole world. Is BRICS ready for this responsibility? This is a question for any of the panelists who would like to respond.
Sorry. Can I ask a question? My question to the esteemed panel, all of you have spoken about BRICS as a platform which is consistently on addressing common challenges. My question is that are there any quantifiable parameters which have been evolved to show what exactly has been the progress on these challenges? That's my question. Thank you.
Progress on the challenges?
Quantifiable parameters.
Hello, I'm Mariam Lambert, Belgian citizen, working on children in armed conflict from Emil Foundation. I was very inspired by the speech by Victoria Panova, actually, when you were talking about critical thinking, that it's important to have other people around BRICS or G7. What is your strategy to implement a communication strategy in order for us as Europeans to know more about you? I just get out of my comfort zone in Europe, where we've been seeing as Iran, Russia, and all the countries are being the bad ones, and we are saving the world. But it takes a lot for us to come to those meetings and to understand actually what is really about BRICS, what it is about G20. And it's quite inspiring, actually, to have also another aspect of the reality other than what we've been told for all these years. What is your strategy in terms of communication for any European or people who want American as well? Because they've been also told differently lately. What is your strategy? Because you've been holding meetings and conference in your own countries, in India, but would be great to come over as well.
Okay. So let's just go with this round and then we'll open it up again. If I can request all the discussants to keep it very brief. Sarah, shall we start with you?
Of course, let me just start. I think that for us, given the magnitude of the problem, and it is escalating given where we are at now in 2025, which we would never have imagined. I don't think that we need to, and in South Africa we always talk about strategy and tactic. I don't think this is the time where we need to pause and accept new members for the good of a changed world. We are going to Brazil in 2 months' time, and there are no secrets in this family, Mr. Singh. Let me say that from South Africa's side, we are bringing a proposal to the BRICS Council. BRICS Council for us to establish a permanent secretariat for BRICS. It will be a new idea. It's not a new idea, but I think that coming from us with a solid proposal would be good timing in relation to some of the issues that have been raised around our communication strategy, for example. But also I want to just conclude on this. Yes, it is a crisis. Yes, the US is wanting to withdraw and it internally to focus on its own issues and away from everyone. That's their own strategy, and that we're not here to judge that. However, I think that it is also an opportunity when a vacuum is deliberately created for us to occupy that space as BRICS. And by the way, on the measures of progress, I think we are a bit ahead, and thanks to Russia, and I'm sure Victoria will speak to that. Thanks.
Victoria, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thank you so much. In fact, that's very good about the idea of permanent secretariats. You remember, Sarah, we already put it through as a BTTC, and it was even in the leaders' declaration. But yes, but we needed an extra thought. So we're very happy that South Africa is given a new impetus to it, because definitely there is a need for more coordination, and especially taken that the new members are now in, having this extremely wide huge amount of events, of mechanisms, projects that are ongoing. It's sometimes very difficult to understand for the new members what's actually going on. So I know it was quite difficult last year, but they did really good job. But with their regards to the new responsibilities, I think BRICS is still a bit shy about that. And I think it is time for us to be taking more responsibility, but we keep hiding as, let's say, as emerging economy, as developing world behind, and that what we need to provide for more dialogue. And in fact, I remember in expert circles, like about 10 years ago, we've been talking that probably it's time for us to join, or let's say have more discussions with BRICS, because U.S. remains a very important player in the world. And even it doesn't matter if Trump withdraws or not, it still will remain an important player. And in fact, I should mention, I remember from the earlier session, we've heard that Trump now is offering more space for new members to join. But I should remind it was during Biden's administration that the whole agitage of members coming into BRICS started. So it's not there. With communication strategy, we're trying it. In fact, I can tell you during last year, we had academic forum, civil forum, and we had a few brave people. We sent out invitations everywhere. So whoever was not afraid to come, they did come. And it was an interesting discussion. They provided for their independent opinion. It was sometimes very different from, what you would want to hear, but that's about dialogue, and that's where we need to go. So we are open, and as BRICS, Russia, China, India, South Africa, all of us. So I should say we need a dialogue. We don't have the way out, because not a single country, no matter what position they take, can be left out in the global order.
Right. We have very little time left, but I'm going to ask Mr. Singh to come in now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have already made a very extensive, scene-setting remarks, but let me just respond to some of the questions put on expansion. You are already aware that 6 new members have joined as permanent members in the BRICS and 9 partner countries. So, in my personal view, it's time to consolidate first and then expand later. On the new responsibility, I think we have had a very successful Joburg 2 conference in 2023 and Kazan summit in 2024. And we look forward to a very successful, Brazilian presidency. All the 6 areas that Walter, you mentioned, India fully supports. And I think we already have a huge responsibility. Let's deliver on that. And on quantifiable progress, New Development Bank is a great example. You have to see the kind of projects they have done across the world. On critical thinking in terms of communication strategy, point well taken. We'll talk about it. I think Raisina dialogue has an important role to play. Thank you.
Thanks. Would you like to come in with very brief summarizing thoughts? You first and then Alireza.
Sure. Some very brief ideas about some of the questions, which is common to all the panelists. First of all, I need to echo Abhishek's assertion that, of course, BRICS is addressing challenges, addressing a lot of new challenges. And of course, it's not just address common challenges. I said that BRICS is also an issue-based cooperation. So the time frame now is that we take a pause and to identify the issue priorities so that we can cooperate between, according to the priority, this priority. And the second is that, of course, we need to take into consideration of this to balance the collective action dilemma as well as the expansion tendencies. So that's Thank you.
Thank you. 2 very quick and brief points. First of all, answering some questions regarding international traditional organizations which are not able to have to impose the results of the international processes. And in such a situation, normally some ad hoc issue-based kind of format, cooperation format are getting more importance. It means multilateral formats like BRICS. Secondly, I think some of us are excessively trying to focus on that BRICS is not going to take a leadership. I think it is excessive. In fact, we should not shy away to pursue our national interests or collective interests. So this is very important to understand that BRICS is not, you should avoid confrontation with any actor or any bloc, but it doesn't mean that it should shy away to pursue its own interests.
Thank you. And Walter, last word, under 30 seconds, time is up.
I'll just say thanks a lot for the opportunity. And I'll just have to do the marketing of the study of our colleagues. Last year the Russians did the measuring of progress in a study. They just gave gifts here, and this year we're going to measure the cooperation mechanisms, how many we have and where they are, when they were born, and then that's our job in researching that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been such a wide-ranging and rich discussion. Too many takeaways for me to summarize here. I'm just going to thank each of our speakers for being here, and also thanks to all of you for participating. And a big round of applause for our speakers.